Dalits need theory as a social necessity. It is argued here that moving away from the empirical mode to the theoretical one has become a social necessity for Dalits, Adivasi, and OBCs. It has become a social necessity for the following reasons. First, theory is a social necessity for them to confront the reverse Orientalism that treats Dalit, tribal and OBC as the inferior empirical self and the twice-born as the superior theoretical self. The descriptive mode is often deployed by the TTB, the twice-born, in order to wrap the insult and derision that is inflicted on the Dalits. Thus, thus description of the body language of the Dalit and the OBC become an erotic need for the cultural and political satisfaction of the twice-born. It is due to this reason that the twice-born did not find it necessary to offer theoretical treatment to the theatrical language of the OBC chief minister from Bihar or the Dalit chief minister from the Uttar Pradesh. The theory of the theory of theatrical language offer a unique opportunity for Dalit or Bahujan scholar to escape derisive description of their cultural symbol. It is in this sense that doing theory becomes a social necessity in order to fight inverted Orientalism. They should become a social necessity in order to become the subject of their own thinking rather than becoming the object of somebody else's thinking. To put it more crudely, the asymmetrical relationship that characterizes inverse Orientalism seeks to caricature Dalit, tribal, and OBC as amusing objects. Dalits have been portrayed as amusing objects in several studies that were initiated by the UGC and ICSSR on Dalits and tribal and now women through separate study centers. These studies of Dalit and tribal communities seeks to museumize the latter as amusing object. Anthropology and the other and to some extent sociology have taken the lead in caricaturing Dalit and Adivasi. Huge funds are provided by the ICSSR and UGC for promoting this enterprise. This kind of social science practice raises the issue of whether social science in India is not reproducing the same tormenting forms of Orientalism against which it had fought in the first instance. In what way are the practitioners of social sciences morally superior to the Orientalist? In view of the complete lack of theoretical intervention from Dalit or Bahujan scholars, some non-Dalit messiah have offered to represent Dalit or Bahujan theoretically. Their claim to fight this reverse Orientalism on behalf of Dalit looks attractive. It is argued by the TT Tatwajwa that they need to intervene in Dalit situation at the theoretical level only to restore voice and visibility to Dalits and ultimately advance the Dalit epistemological cause. But this also ends up producing reverse Orientalism in a very subtle way. The claim to offer epistemological empowerment to Dalits involve a charity element which, by definition, is condescending. This epistemological charity has several implications for Dalits. First, speaking for Dalits or anybody constitute a Jajmani relationship structurally involving a patron and client. In the present case, the Muknayak, leaders of the dumb masses, become the patron and the dumb become the client to define the patron. The patron, in very ironical sense, tend to reproduce the Brahminical mechanism, first controlling knowledge resources and then pouring them in the empty cup palms of the lip. It happened in the same humiliating way that wise bonds still pour water into the hands of the thirsty Dalit. This relationship makes the Muknayak intellectually indispensable, and the dumb almost crawl before such messiah for rhetorical appreciation and designated empowerment rather than real theoretical elevation. We come across umpteen cases of such designated empowerment when Dalit publicly bask in the intellectual glory of their Muknayak. These structured relationships create legitimacy for the patron's existence in both the Dalit soul and the Dalit society. As a result, the patron does not find it necessary to exit from the epistemological field that are specific to the Dalit and Bahujan situation. This Jajmani relationship also has another implication for the Dalits. This representation tend to undervalue or underplay the discursive capacity of such groups, who in favorable hermeneutic condition can develop an epistemic stamina, but the Muknayaks make a very smart move, prompting the dumb to throw up more interesting details so that the former can use these details for either grand formulation in a liberal mode or its postmodernist deconstruction. This by implication restricts the Dalit to the empirical and pushes them into Trojan essentialist trap. This postmodernist construction of Dalit remain blind to the hegemonic politics that would feel happy to celebrate such a construction, as it replaces the need to make connection between several local experiences that belong to the same logical class of collective suffering and exploitation. Finally, this epistemological enthusiasm of the non-Dalit also suffer from another and rather serious malady. This intellectual representation remains epistemologically posterior. That is to say, the discovery of the Dalit epistemological standpoint failed to explain who has arrived, whether the object, Dalit, or the subject, Muknayak. This question becomes absolutely important because such claims have been sustained on the basis of throwing up completely new conceptual landscape from the Dalit experience. This inability to either recover or throw up an alternative concept happen because these scholars choose to theorize Dalit experience while standing outside the Dalit experience. This representation thus remains epistemologically posterior. In view of this posterior epistemology, its standpoint remains a mere assertion that feeds on the critique of the mainstream Marxist or feminist framework. This externality hardly enables the Dalit to secure theoretical advance for their revolutionary understanding and politics. To put it more crudely, such epistemological enthusiasm may turn Dalit epistemology into an exegetical horizon of difference that may radically undermine any possibility of the fusion of epistemologies that are egalitarian in nature. It is in this sense that patronizing or posterior epistemology failed to belong to the realm of social necessity. It comes up as a choice to transcend the personal intellectual frustration of those middle-class former radicals for whom the old framework have ceased to be charming options. It is true that the old liberal or Marxist discourses try to tighten the conceptual boundary of social sciences in India, almost pushing the social science discipline into state of suffocation. But these discourses did compete with one another, like the caste versus class discourse for deciding protocols, procedure, and ground rules for the social science. In the process, these discourses took over the theoretical task of discovering concepts and categories for Dalits, Adivasi, and OBC and women. For example, the Marxist discourse introduced concepts such as class, exploitation, proletariat, labor, and alienation for everybody, including the Dalit. In liberal discourse, caste, nationalism, citizenship, rights, and multiculturalism are the potent categories for everybody. These by implication suggest the Dalit failure of historical imagination to do theory. Although such rendering does does pose a huge theoretical challenge to provide alternative set of categories, this is the challenge that is worth taking up. Dalit theory, in order to become a social necessity, has to be vertically critical of the limitation of Marxist and liberal methods and be horizontally sensitive toward those Dalit or Bahujan critical impulses that may be still present in the methods mentioned above. Thus, it would be unfair to dispense with everything from Marxism or liberalism for their epistemological deficiencies. In fact, doing theory is also an inner necessity for the Dalits. Dalit, Dalits need theory as an inner necessity. There seems to be a different factor that become the preconditions for the realization of this inner necessity. These are the moral conditions. For the lead to realize doing theory as an inner moral necessity, they must make a conscious moral choice to use their sense of freedom for understanding and reflecting on the Dalit experience. They should treat this freedom to walk out from the Dalit experience as the initial condition for achieving theoretical heights in their reflection. They may go to the Oxford and Cambridge for achieving height for their experience, but they should also make a moral choice to walk back into the Dalit experience in order to accord depth to their reflection. This becomes an essential condition for doing theory. Thus, the modernist theorist who is driven by the individualized intellectual triumphalism of conquering newer epistemological territories become a morally undesirable option for Dalits. This kind of epistemological imperialism is one-sided as it shows commitment to scholarship and not to the cause. For Dalits, theory comes as a double commitment both to the scholarship and also to the social cause. As a part of this moral commitment, the Dalits should avoid walking into pure empiricism or experientialism, which comes as an alternative in the competitive forms of tokenism in the realm of both academics and politics. For Dalits, theory should not begin and end with Oxford or Cambridge or some institution within India that is devoted to promoting theoretical work. Their theory should not be caught in the self-serving professionalism and superfaction adopted by the twice-born in the country. Dalit should test the tenacity of their theory, not with the certification of juries of social sciences, howsoever attractive that may be, but on the basis of how much influence this theoretical formulation enjoy in the popular intellect. It is a Gramscian project that demands impeccable commitment on that part of on the part of the theories to translate technical content into an ordinary idiom and common speech so that it becomes accessible to the common people and does not remain confined to seminar rooms only. In fact, it should be practiced from the Red Fort in Delhi. They would, by the way, re-signify the thought by dispelling the deceitful rhetoric of interested parties ritually on every 15 August. Dalits are expected to take the initiatives in giving moral lead to doing theory in the country. This orientation would thus remove the cultural hierarchies that tend to divide social sciences practice into theoretical Brahmins. This orientation would thus remove the cultural hierarchies that tend to divide the social science practice into theoretical Brahmins and empirical Shudras. Ultimately, social science in India would fulfill the fondest hope by expanding the social base for its conceptual landscape. And thank you.